When you people get past your healing procedures, you can wear glasses like this and feel good about it.
Let me see him wobble.
I found the devil.
The devil?
I found him.
Really? Is this him?
No.
In this wheelchair?
No. He's over here in this bucket. I kid you not. There he is. Mr. Sin!
Oh my
Not
goodness.
bothering us anymore.
And I remember her saying, okay, you're going to play Mr. Sin today. And she hands me this purple puppet with the nasty mustache. Pop the little puppet up, and literally on cue, 80 kids out there all, boo, no, yuck, I hate that guy. I was like, man, these guys are trained on cue. Like, I don't know if they got candy for doing that or what. But
Oh, man, they just want to come down on
deep
someone.
theological teaching. Deep theological teaching.
Well.
Welcome to Together We Build. I'm so excited about this episode. I'm here with Prudence O'Hare. Prudence, you
Yes.
feeling pretty good today?
I guess so, yeah.
You are? Good. My name is Chris Behnke, and I am excited about today. I'm feeling excellent. I'm feeling like today is a chance that you're going to win the trivia.
You know, Chris, if you were a type of dog, you would be like a Labrador.
Wait, is that a good thing?
Well, they're always like happy.
Yeah. They're always happy.
I would be more like moody little Yorkie that we have.
Oh my goodness.
Not Mandy. She's too sweet.
Constantly complaining and barking at the door and causing trouble and, looking for treats. That's you?
Yeah.
Okay, dude. All right. Well, I think we need to jump into this. This is going to be a two-parter. It's going to be really, I'm telling you, this is going to be absolutely fantastic. This is the brain science of deliverance. Now, I think most people that know anything about brain science or know anything about deliverance are going to say that is not possible. There's no such thing as brain science as it pertains to deliverance. And you'll just have to wait till the end of these two episodes to see if you still feel that way. Because I think what we're going to dig into is going to break some of that down. We're also going to be showing some clips from a really powerful message that Bobby gave at Eagle Mountain. Bobby Hobby, our senior leader at Eagle Mountain, gave, and that was called, I think, The Great Deliverance.
Yeah, it wasn't The Great Race.
Wasn't The Great Race. I think the title of that message was The Great Deliverance.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes. So, but before we do any of that important stuff, before we do that, we have to see, Prudence, we have to see if I'm going to hit the fake news button or
Yeah, let's get on with it. I brought my glasses
for
today.
your trivia answers. Are you ready? Those are the I'm not going to cheat glasses.
Well, you think I can't cheat, but actually I can, which is why I'm looking this way.
Even with those glasses on, you can cheat?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I can see you.
Fine. Here we go. What does the WWW stand for in a website?
World Wide Web.
That is absolutely correct.
I am shocked.
Excellent
Are you shocked
job.
that I knew that?
No, I think I asked this question already.
No, you didn't. This is a fresh question.
And you knew it?
Yeah.
Dub. By the way, if anyone's still using www on your website, get up to speed. That's very 1995 of you.
Really?
Yes, no one uses www anymore. Why? What's the point?
I don't know what the original point was in the first place, so I can't answer that.
But a lot of Christians were freaking out because it's like dub is like 666 and the web is the mark of the beast and stuff.
What?
I'm just telling you, people are freaking out. Okay, but do you know the answer to this? You may know the dub question, but
Okay.
do you know this? How long is an Olympic swimming pool in meters?
Oh, brother.
Come on, you
But
gotta
this is
know
an
this.
extremely boring question. Can you give a different one?
Boring or not, it is a question that you don't know the answer to. What is it? How many meters?
I feel defeated before I even started.
Well, you haven't even tried.
2.
2. You could try a little harder than 2.
It's the best I got.
50 meters. Your answer was fake news.
You are fake news.
Okay. Okay.
Definitely it was untrue.
Okay. Which country do the cities of Perth, which countries do the cities of Perth, Brisbane, and Sydney belong to?
Australia.
See, there's another one here that's not Sydney, but I didn't know how to pronounce it. So you get that right.
That is absolutely correct.
Okay. What geometric shape is generally used for stop signs, especially in this country?
The hexagon,
How many sides is a hexagon?
5.
And is that how many sides there are on a stop sign?
Oh, it's an octagon.
Nailed it. Octagon.
Absolutely correct.
I bet you're shocked I knew that.
Nice job. Well, you didn't know it. You had to.
Okay, but I still figured it out, so I get credit.
You actually get double credit for doing geometric calculations like this. Don't cheat. Don't cheat. Okay. What is cynophobia? Cynophobia. I think I'm saying that right. It's spelled
Cynophobia?
spelled
I think it's the
Cynophobia.
fear of the theater seats.
Very close, but it's actually the fear of dogs.
It is?
Yeah, maybe I'm saying it wrong, but it is spelled Cynophobia. Cynophobia. Anyway, the fear
Why
of
did they
dogs.
just say dog phobia? Like, why do we have to make a bunch of weird words that don't seem to relate
I don't know.
to
But
the
speaking of
common
weird,
person?
settle down with this little thing here. Speaking of weird words and grammatical foolishness, you are a school teacher.
Don't tell
as it
people
were.
that.
And I would like to know
I'm
what
not-
punctuation mark ends an imperative sentence.
Oh, imperative. Let's see. There's declarative, exclamatory, imperative, and declarative. So declarative.
Honestly, it's fake news. It's fake.
I just wanted to hit that. You haven't even answered yet.
But I'm figuring
What?
it out.
What
Imperative.
punctuation mark ends an imperative sentence?
Declarative. It's
Is there a niner in there?
is it an exclamation point or a period or both?
Unbelievably accurate.
That is absolutely correct.
A period or an exclamation point.
I just saw this yesterday. That's how I knew this.
Okay, last one. Yesterday?
Yeah. I was quizzing the kids on it.
Nice work,
I bet
Teacher
you,
Prudence.
I bet you think that they aren't learning anything
Do they
from
call
me.
you Teacher Prudence?
No.
They should. Okay, last one. Who named the Pacific Ocean?
The Columbus?
No.
Oh,
Be another example,
Reginald.
as you say.
Reginald.
Yeah.
You know why? Fake news.
No, Reginald didn't. You have to roll your R's. It's Reginald. No, Reginald, what are you talking about? Ferdinand Magellan, obviously.
I knew it.
It was
That
right
must
before
have been
he
his middle
invented
name.
The GPS.
Okay.
Obviously.
I knew it.
Okay, let's move on. That's enough. That is more than enough. Let's get to the topic at hand. The topic at hand is, let's see. It is the brain science of deliverance. What do you think about that? Just starting off, Prudence, at the high level overview, when someone says the brain science of deliverance, what in the world could that even mean?
Well, I assume that deliverance has something to do with our brains and that our brains have something to do with the deliverance part.
Yeah. Here's what I would say, because when we were even talking about this and we were thinking about the titles, I'm not even sure I liked the titles. But here's what I think. So I think that right now, a lot of times, as people think about deliverance, they have kind of a weird idea based on some random, weird, scary movie that they watched at a sleepover when they were 12, and it had to do with like holy water and Catholic priest and stuff. And that's what they think about deliverance. And then if they've gotten any kind of time to learn a little bit more about what real deliverance is, then they've kind of began to understand a little bit more like what it is, but they still kind of put it over in this supernatural, I won't say mystical, but I'll say supernatural camp, right?
Right.
So I feel like for most people, when you say brain science, they immediately have a hard time connecting that with deliverance. Would you agree?
Well,
I mean, I
would
did.
say that it is, an unusual combination.
I came up with the title and I had a hard time connecting it. So I think it's an amazing topic to dig into.
Okay.
So I think we should start by talking at a high level. What is deliverance? Just really, really at its simplest form. By the way, we've got some other episodes of Together We Build that we did with both Robin and Martha and with Jan Schaffner that are amazing, digging into at a deeper level deliverance.
Yeah, and why do we keep harping on this specific subject anyway?
Yeah, why is that?
That is a question.
Fill us in.
Well, I'm asking you.
You're asking me.
You should look up the dictionary term of deliverance, and let's read that.
Okay, let's just do that. Define
because I think that
deliverance.
Sometimes it's just nice to get behind the basic meat of a word.
The meat. It's a noun. The action of being rescued or set free.
Ooh, set free. Mm-hmm. I like that.
It's also a formal or authoritative utterance. Jason has just captured our clock with the picture of the kid playing the banjo from the movie Deliverance. And I'm 100% certain that is not the right thing to show. You can't put it on this TV, can you? Let's see. Deliverance.
To be set free. So, I think that a lot of Christians have a hard time believing that they need to be set free from anything.
Yes.
That it is good enough to have their golden ticket into heaven, and that's all there is.
So
the end of the line, folks.
So the act of being set free. So basically, if we had to put it into a nutshell, deliverance in the Christian context would be what?
To be set free from the baggage and the chains and the everything that all the barnacles that we've accumulated in the way of demonic entities and harassment and things that we've given permission to be in our lives that we aren't even aware.
Right.
Is there.
Yeah. So I love the way you said that. So it's kind of like taking the steps necessary for yourself to break free, like according to the Webster, deliverance is being set free from the influence of the demonic in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Bible isn't like just joking around when it says that, we have a spiritual battle to fight.
Yes, our battle's not with flesh and blood.
It's not like some frivolous thing that they just decided to throw in there.
Yes, right.
Many of us don't even understand the basic premise of that.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why we've been kept in the dark largely.
Right. So when we think about deliverance, and again, I really do strongly recommend, I'm not just saying this because there are episodes and they're amazing, but they are. There's some like really amazing episodes we did with Robin and Martha of Healing Garden Ministries and also with Jan Schaffner, specifically digging into the topic of deliverance and why it's important, and that we'll just keep this at the high level because that's some amazing resources. But at the high level, deliverance is for Christians. And what you alluded to, Prudence, is that Christians don't need deliverance. That's what most of the church actually teaches. That it's actually biblically not.
Well, I mean, we never really understood that for most of our lives.
Yes. So when Scripture says things like "our battle's not with flesh and blood," what do you think it's talking about? So we're just going to kind of leave that there. But deliverance is for Christians. And if this causes you to be bothered, then after this episode, go spend some time looking into it. Like, break out the scripture and actually look at what the Bible says about deliverance. Deliverance is for Christians. And it is, it's really, I believe it's something that everyone really needs. It's not for like hyper messed up people. It's for everyone.
Sometimes you have to go back and do maintenance work. I mean, it doesn't just mean that, like, it would be nice in a perfect world if we all went through the deliverance process and stayed free.
Yes.
Which is something that Bobby touches on in his sermon. But we oftentimes start stepping in things again and getting stuff on us again. And then we got to go back and we got to do some more work to get free again.
For sure.
That's the battle.
So, so with all that in mind, it's kind of like one of those things that there's a stigma with it. There's a kind of a false belief about it. And like so many things that the Lord has created for us to be tools for us that are powerful and good and amazing, the enemy wants to like create barriers for us and kind of make them, kind of fear causing things. And deliverance is no different. So I like to start off at a high level and just really talk about that. Like, this is for everyone. It's for Christians. It's not a scary thing. And it is a way to go through and break off agreements that we have made with the enemy. And again, we're told in Scripture that our battle's not with flesh and blood. So that means it is, to a large degree, a spiritual battle. And that's really what we're talking about here. But so what I want to do, though, is I want to talk about the brain and how the brain works, because that's part of God's design. Like, he designed us a certain way, and he designed us to function in a certain way, and he designed us to work in a certain way. And because of that, we can understand about how we function in various situations. But the more we understand about that, the more prepared we can be actually to fight against the enemy, because the enemy, he studies us really well. He's a very good student of each of us individually. And just as
I always say, I like to use the term devils because Satan isn't just focused on us. He's got a whole entourage, an army of military personnel with different levels of powers and such, and they get assigned to us.
Yes.
So they are studying us.
Yes.
Taking very good notes, deciding what we've done in the past. They keep great records. They are excellent memories. So they're very, very intelligent.
Yep.
And they are watching us very carefully.
Yes. So
this is what we call a familiar spirit.
Yeah. So with all that in mind, we feel like it's super important to think through and understand and prepare and be educated. Like, having the information is very powerful when understanding how to deal with these various things. So there's lots and lots of teaching on deliverance. There's lots of people that have that as ministry. It's amazing. There's tons of amazing resources. Go check them out, including, like I mentioned, before, these other episodes of Together We Build. Absolutely check them out. Mm-hmm. But what I want to do today is look at something that I think is almost never looked at, which is the brain science side, and how that ties into how God made us, and then from that, how the enemy can take advantage of that. And the reason for knowing this is you can better be prepared to fight against it as it happens if you have a better understanding of how your brain works. Because trust me, the devils, as it were, out there do understand how you work better than you do, in almost every case.
And it's like with anything new that you're learning or trying to change the way that you think, like, it takes a lot of work and effort.
Yes.
I mean, even when you start diving into understanding a lot of these things about yourself, or understanding how the whole operation works, it's really hard to stop and catch yourself in the mid process or like that whole cycle that keeps wanting to repeat itself.
Yeah.
That's the hardest.
Right.
And then pretty soon you start catching it sooner, and you start catching it sooner, sooner and sooner. And I mean, the idea and goal is to eliminate it altogether, but you have to give yourself grace as you're learning it.
Yeah. So exactly. So this is why we're going to dig into this. So over the rest of this episode and the next one, we're going to do two things. We're going to talk about brain science. We're going to learn a little bit how the brain works, and use that as setting the stage. We're also going to play a whole bunch of clips between this episode and the next one from this message that Bobby gave, which was really, really fantastic. And we're going to tie all of that together. And I'm very excited about it, because I think this is a topic that pretty much no one touches on, but they should, because it's important. So, okay, so let me start at the high level. So, have you ever, so hopefully most of you guys have seen an episode of Star Trek, the TV show. It doesn't matter which one you've seen. It doesn't matter if it was like the super old one with, James T. Kirk, or something brand new. Literally doesn't matter. In Star Trek, if you'll notice, they fly all around the universe and they meet aliens. And the aliens always kind of look like humans, which is kind of interesting. But they almost always look kind of like humans. And they all speak English. Have you ever noticed that? All these aliens speak English. Weird. The reason is in Star Wars land, they have this thing called the universal translator. So they just got, I think it's a computer or something, I don't know, just real time on the fly. When the aliens talk, the universal translator translates what they're saying into English.
Have you ever seen The Machine Broke?
I haven't. So that's what happens in Star Wars land, or Star Trek land. Oh, I'm sorry to offend all of you Star Wars, Star Trek fanatics, but that's what happens. They have this thing called the universal translator. Okay, why are you bringing that up? Let me bring up something similar. So when you travel abroad, I don't know if you have done this, but if you've traveled abroad to a place that doesn't speak English, you download this app called Google Translate. And you can speak into it, like I can speak English into it. And then if I'm talking to someone that's French, then the phone will then say what I just said in French. And then the French person can then speak in French in here, and then the phone will say back to me English. It's like, a real version of the Star Trek Universal Translator.
And you've sampled that. We fixed a car with a mechanic in France.
We have sampled it various places around the world using Google Translate. And it is like a primitive version of the Star Trek Universal Translator. Okay, so what am I talking about? What is the point of all of this?
Yeah,
okay,
what is the point?
What is the point? The point is, that's actually how our brain works. So our brain doesn't actually know any reality. So what you think you're seeing isn't actually necessarily the reality. What you think you're hearing isn't actually necessarily the reality. What you're seeing, hearing, tasting, all of your senses, you've got 5 senses, all of those are giving you signals. And the brain is then taking all that information and processing it like the Google Translate. It's processing all of that French and it's turning it into English for your brain to hear.
So is this what we would call perspective?
It's a perspective, but perspective is slightly different. But this is literally like your brain takes what it thinks it sees in the world and then creates an understanding and feeds that into itself. So the brain takes the eyeballs and the ears and the tongue and the nerve endings on your fingers and the nose and all of that, and it puts it all together into a package and presents a reality to your brain, and then your brain interprets it. Now, this is really important. So let's say you're looking out there. You're looking at a scene. Like we're sitting in the studio right now, and as I kind of look out over there, I see like a whole bunch of Eagle Mountain, facility. So as I'm looking out there, I see this scene. Now, your brain understands what it should be seeing, and sometimes you don't actually get all of the data. Like right now we have a bunch of bright lights shining in our face. So there's actually certain things that I can't see that are out there, but I actually think I can see them. And I actually can see them because my brain fills in the missing pieces. Does that make sense?
So your brain fills in the missing pieces from things it remembers?
From things it remembers, from things it assumes, from rules, from physics that it's learned. Like, this happens, then that happens, this happens. So all of that data is processed in an instant, literally real time, and your brain presents an image of reality that might not be reality. Here's a really good example. Here's a super good example. Have you ever been stargazing and you look up in the sky and you're supposed to be looking at a star and it's like just to the left of this brighter star, and you look just to the left of this brighter star and there's nothing there. There's nothing there. And then the person, if they're experienced stargazer, says, no, look just to the right of it, and then you'll see it to your left. You're like, what? Yeah, so you look just to the right of it, and actually then you can see the star.
Yeah, I've seen that.
You've experienced that. Mm-hmm. So when you're looking directly at the star, you can't actually see it. But when you look right to the right or right to the left or up or down, then you see it. So there's a reason for that. It has to do with a whole bunch of stuff I'm not getting into, how your eye works, rods and cones, all this different stuff. Not going to worry about all that. But the point is that in everyday life, your brain fills in that fuzzy area in the middle. So you don't walk around with this kind of fuzzy dark area that doesn't work very well, because your brain fills in the missing data with the data it's captured from all around. So what does this look like? So let's say the brain is not functioning correctly. Like, let's say someone's on an acid trip. They do drugs and they're on some kind of a drug experience. Mm-hmm. Now the brain's not functioning properly. So now it's getting all of this data and it's adding data, and it creates a scenario that it believes is 100% real. And maybe it's Snoopy walking through the Eagle Mountain Auditorium. And we are positive that it's real, and our brains see it, and it is fully reality to our brain, but it's not really there because our brain's not functioning properly, right? It's believing a lie. There's no Snoopy, right? Does that make sense? Now, this doesn't happen very often. Almost always, 99.99999% of the time, the brain fills in the data that's correct. So like when that star is not there and you look to the side and all that stuff, like it's filling in the data that's correct. It is incredibly powerful. It's taking in trillions of pieces of data. And it's actually the brain's primary job with regards to taking data in is actually to get rid of it. Because like what you're seeing, hearing, smelling, all of these senses, it is orders of magnitude more information than you can actually use. So your brain actually throws most of the information it takes in on the ground. It doesn't use it. So it's constantly filtering, okay? All right, so all this, I'm going somewhere with all this. The point is that your brain is this powerful tool that interprets everything that it sees and consumes, every bit of data, information, every data point coming in. Your brain has to process it, and it processes it through a set of beliefs, structures, experience, rules of physics that it's just learned subconsciously. You know, if you drop something, it's going to go down, all kinds of assumptions. And it takes all of that like a filter, runs the data that it's getting in through this filter, and then presents you with a reality that is almost impossible for you to not believe. Okay, one more example, super important. So I am a pilot. One of the things that they teach you when you're learning how to fly is they teach you how to do this thing where you can't see. So on your way to becoming a pilot, like a VFR pilot, which is a visual flight rules pilot, which means you can fly at night, you can fly in the day, but you can't fly when you can't see. So you need to be able to see. It's basically what that means. They still teach you how to fly when you can't see in case you get stuck in some clouds. Here's why. It is very common, actually, when someone gets into some clouds, they start to feel like the plane is turning when it's not.
Oh, what a horrible feeling.
Like this is actually pretty common. So you're flying straight, but it feels like the plane's turning.
I think if you get into those simulator rides, you can feel that.
Yeah, so like this can be like if you've ever experienced vertigo or dizziness, it's like that. Only it's just happening while you're flying straight and level. Like this actually happens pretty often. Like not all the time, but it happens often enough that it's like part of training. So what they do is they put the shield so you can't see, and they make you fly with your instruments. And then the pilot, the instructor, like makes the plane go all these crazy different ways, and you're not allowed to look out the window to kind of get all of your systems kind of jumbled. And then you got to fly by the instruments. Now, it feels like the plane's turning, but the instrument says it's not, and you're programming your brain to trust the instruments. So it doesn't matter what I feel. I feel like we're turning, but we're not. I feel like we're turning, but we're not. I feel like we're diving, but we're not. I feel like we're upside down, but we're not. Or what can actually happen is I feel like we're right side up, but we're actually upside down. Like that actually happens. So they train pilots how to look at the instruments. And even though everything inside their computer is telling them they're turning, they're not. And to trust the instruments. Why do they do that? Why do they do that training? They do the training is because your brain takes all the data, gives your mind, your conscious, a picture of what's happening. And it is literally not possible for you to not believe it. So you are in full belief that the plane is turning. But they teach you to trust the instruments over what your positive is happening. I'm flying straight and level. So even though I'm positive, I feel everything in me says the plane is turning. It's not. I'm going to not crash because I'm going to trust the instruments. Well, the reason they do that is because your brain does that. So your brain can be tricked.
Yeah.
So, you know who else knows that? The bad guys.
The bad guys.
The enemy knows that. The enemy knows that. So, when we talk about the brain science of deliverance, well, one of the things that we need to understand is we are making agreements with a picture that our brain sees that we're positive is true. Like we're positive something's turning and the devil's whispering in our ear it's turning, but it's true. We're straight and level. It's not true. We're actually straight and level. So when we talk about the brain science of deliverance, we got to first understand, well, what in the world is happening in the brain where the enemy can do this, okay? So this is where I want to talk about a couple of things, how our brain works. Now, there's a lot of different things we could go into. One of them is, if you see this little graphic here, this animated graphic, it actually is showing two neurons that are connecting. So you can see they're connecting, and this thing just keeps repeating. But right there is where they're connecting, and here's where they're kind of apart. Now, this video is just on a loop, but that's actually real video of brain neurons connecting. So whenever we think things, decide things, feel like something's true, false, when we make an analysis of something, this is happening with electrical impulses going over neurological pathways. Think of them like ruts in the ground. Right? Ruts in the ground. You can see over here. So they're like ruts in the ground. When we're trying to learn something new, it's like these two neurons. They're connecting a really thin little thin connector.
Like a little arm.
It's a little arm. See this little arm connecting? And this is like a big one. That's like a big one. But these little ones are making a new connection. So this is super important, super important. So what we want to do is we want to figure out how to leverage that with God's truth. The enemy has worked hard to create neurological pathways based on lies, but they feel true. Just like it feels like we're turning in the plane, but we're not, that's what the enemy does. He's trying to trick us, and he uses our own brain to do it. Does that make sense? Anything you want to comment on?
No,
I feel like I'm just going through this big lecture here. Okay, let's talk about the next thing. So I want to talk about hormones. So sometimes you hear people joking, saying, oh, the hormones made me do it, especially from women that are in menopause.
I don't think I've ever said that.
You've never said it. I'm not talking about you. I'm just saying that it's a thing that people say.
I definitely have heard it.
People say. The crazy thing is that is far more true than most people would ever want to admit. Now, there are lots and lots and lots and lots of hormones, and the hormones are created by and released into our brain and our bloodstream and our body for different reasons, and they do different things, and they kind of create the scenarios that cause us to make decisions and react to decisions and behave in certain ways. So there's tons of them. I'm just going to talk about a few. Endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and cortisol. Now,
I don't like that bottom one.
There's norepinephrine. There's zillions of these, okay? We're not going to talk about all this. We're going to just talk about a few of these. Why? Well, because we want to learn how God designed our brain, the mechanics of it, the actual brain science, so that as we're thinking about doing processing and thinking about how the enemy is attacking us, and we talk about topics like deliverance, we can understand how God is using our minds, bodies to kind of correct the way that the enemy is using ourselves against us. Like he uses our weakness.
It's basically like giving ourselves a chiropractic adjustment on our brains.
Yes. Right.
Because, I mean, when we are out of alignment, we go to the chiropractor and we keep coming back until our muscles and body remember to stay put.
Yes. Or until the chiropractor's paid for their pool.
Right, that too.
I'm just going to need to see you every day for the next couple of years. I'm just kidding. Chiropractors have a place and they're amazing. Okay, so endorphins. Let's talk about endorphins first. Endorphins, you guys have heard about this, the runner's high, get endorphins. Endorphins are designed specifically to mask pain. So why do we need this? Okay, so like as the Lord was designing us, as God was designing us, he needed to create a way to keep us motivated to push through, to have endurance for difficult things. Like, let's say we were all going out to battle and we started getting tired and we're like, just
is there a cafe around here?
Yes. I mean, I could go for an espresso right now. Like we couldn't have that. So the endorphins were created by God to create this sense of accomplishment and this like actual good feeling and mask the pain of whatever physical difficult thing we were going through. Super powerful. Super powerful. Any of you guys that like are runners that have experienced this runner's high, like that's a real thing. This is literally like these endorphins are rushing through our body and actually making us feel really good about doing something physically difficult.
Right.
Our bodies.
Who cares if your leg is about to fall off?
It doesn't matter.
If
like
that finish line is in front of you, you're going to do it.
The leg.
You're going to do it. That leg is going to do it.
Your ankle's folded completely over. But you've got enough endorphins that it does not matter. No, but it's literally designed to mask pain to create the scenario where you can continue to move forward. So that's cool. All right, let's talk about the next one, dopamine. Lots of talk about dopamine these days. Lots of talk about dopamine. So dopamine is it's actually released into your body as you accomplish things. It's released in your body as you achieve things. It's released in your body as goals are met. So if you set a goal and then meet it, then it is a little hit of dopamine. Okay. So like sometimes, are you the type, Prudence? This is a trick question because I know you are, to have done something, forgot to have added it to your to-do list, add it to the to-do list so you can then cross it out that it's completed.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's actually because you want a little hit of dopamine. So even though it's literally already been done, crossing it off gets you a little hit of dopamine.
Right? Yeah.
Yes. When your phone dings and it's someone that wants to talk to you, that gives you a small sense of affirmation and it's a little hit of dopamine.
Well, it does for you.
No, it does for everyone. It does for everyone.
Well, I mean,
I know you don't think it's as important, but it actually gives everyone a little hit of dopamine. So here's the problem with dopamine. You ready? What do you think the problem is?
We get hooked on it.
It is highly addictive. It is highly addictive.
Maybe this is why we have such a problem with the youth and video games.
Youth, video games, absolutely. Or our phones. And sometimes people are like, you can't be addicted to your phone. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
no.
Listen.
Yes,
Here's the deal. Here's the deal. If they say, if you wake up and the first thing you think about in the morning when you get up is alcohol, I need a drink, then you're likely have a problem with alcoholism. Mm-hmm. But if the first thing you think about when you wake up in the morning is your phone, or you reach for your phone, or you're driving along and you're 5 minutes away from your destination and the phone dings and you have a really hard time not looking at it.
Hey, that's one of your vices, I think.
It's all
I'm
fake
constantly
news.
like,
It's phony stuff. It didn't happen.
stop.
So if you're walking around your house carrying your phone with you everywhere and you can't put it down, so just leave that one there. But the problem is that dopamine is highly addictive, but also highly effective at keeping you moving forward and progressing in things. So this is God's design. Like he made us this way on purpose to want to seek these hits of dopamine. And I call it hits. That makes it sound like worse than it is. These injections that our body gives us of dopamine to cause us to move forward. It's God's design. Let's talk about, serotonin. So with serotonin, so at the end of the day, what people really want is to feel safety. They really want to feel safety. So they want to create an environment where they feel safe. Now, we talk about core motivators when we talk about the Nexus profile, and we've got together we build episodes that are about that. And that's amazing. You should check those out. But
This is why I create blanket forts for myself.
blanket forts?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I like to sit in there by myself. It's safe.
That makes so much sense. The impenetrable armor of a blanket fort.
Haley's wondering if I'm telling the truth.
Yeah.
She's like, but I don't know. I wouldn't put it past her.
Okay, so we want to create safety, and we achieve it different ways, and depending on the different Nexus type that you are, you kind of look for different things for safety. But at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. So serotonin is kind of like, well, here, let me explain it this way. I think Aesop said it best, 500 years before Christ. This is what he said in this fable. The 4 oxen who live there stand tail to tail and offer the lion horns regardless of the direction of the approach. One day, however, an argument causes the 4 oxen to go in their separate ways. On their own, the oxen do not stand a chance against the lion, who picks them off one by one with great ease.
Oh, they were dummies.
Yeah, so they wanted a place of safety. So when they worked together, they created a place of safety. They created a safe area by creating horns at all sides, by keeping their tails together. So no matter where the lion came, there was horns. Mm-hmm. They were collaborating. That only works if you're collaborating. So we're looking for safety. So serotonin helps us create this place of safety through making us want to desire to connect with each other in a way that creates collaboration, which ultimately leads to safety. Right? So this is a hormone, the chemical that is released into our body that helps us strive for that. It actually connects people together and actually helps people desire to want to function together in unity. And all that is really for the purpose of safety, right? Mm-hmm. So the enemy knows this, right? He wants to create an opportunity, like with the oxen, to argue with each other and isolate. Mm-hmm. So we're stronger together. We're better together. Okay, let's talk about oxytocin. Oxytocin real quick. So talk about oxytocin because we're almost out of time already and we haven't even got to the clips. But that's okay because we're setting up the brain science side, so it's fine. So oxytocin, so feeling of love, trust, safety, friendship, intense feeling of safety. So again, this is another one that you can get this through physical touch. Other things kind of create this. But here's the thing that's amazing about oxytocin. So think about it like this. An example of you're in a like aggressively, traditionally cold city, like let's say New York. Not cold temperature, like cold culture, right? So if you've ever been to New York, you know what I mean. Like everybody's busy, everybody's walking, everybody is on a mission and they're focused and they're like going different ways on the sidewalk and they're like, they don't care about each other. They're not smiling. They're not mad. They have mutual respect. They're all cool. Nobody's even grumpy, but they're not like giving each other hugs. Okay, so in that environment, let's say somebody trips, stumbles, drops their briefcase, and papers go out onto the sidewalk. And then someone else stops for 15 seconds and helps pick them up. They really didn't like disrupt their day much. It was 15 seconds. They stopped for 15 seconds, help that person. What happens is immediately at that time, oxytocin is released and they feel really good about helping the person. And what's crazy is the person they're helping also feels really good. They also have oxytocin released. It's like a chemical that is like actually helping with the collaboration. It encourages us to want to collaborate together. Super powerful.
Do we sell those?
Yes. Yeah,
we have some in the Connect Center.
Hormone replacement for all of these that is very dangerous. So talk to your doctor first, for sure. So what's really cool about this is there's no shortage, there's no lack of it, there's no running out of it. It doesn't cost anything to make, and it's not just the person helping and the person receiving the help, but someone else 50 feet behind watched it happen. They also get a hit of oxytocin.
So it's contagious.
Yeah, I saw you.
It's contagious.
I saw you pick up that guy's papers. That was cool, dude. That was super cool. That was really cool. All
You've
three of them.
inspired me. I'm going to help the next
Now,
person
what's
pick up
really
their papers.
crazy, exactly what you just said, Prudence. What's really crazy is the studies show that as this happens, it kind of shifts behavior to a more collaborative environment and creates a situation where probably likely for the next several hours, these people are all going to go kind of be nicer to everyone around them. So this oxytocin kind of creates this environment where it's like conducive to like collaborate together in groups. Powerful, right? Powerful. So you can automatically see how the enemy wants to prevent this from happening. Let's talk about the last one real quick.
Oh.
Cortisol. This has a bad rap. This is like the stress hormone. This is like shortens life, causes heart disease, causes diabetes. So people think you only get diabetes from eating ice cream and sugar, which is definitely part of the issue, but actually causes from cortisol as well.
No, it's true.
Actually shortens life.
I mean, I experienced this with having gestational diabetes on my last pregnancy, some almost 14 years ago.
Yes. What happened?
Well, I had the task of watching my blood numbers all through the day.
Like you'd take the prick, you'd do the blood sugar
test,
right?
What they told me was if you get put into a stressful situation or you have an argument or something raises your cortisol levels, you will see your blood numbers come up and you will not have to eat anything. It's literally...
Yep. Your blood sugar
it's
is
true.
shifted.
It's true. I watched it happen. I never ate anything, and I had some problems with something, and boosh, through the ceiling.
Yep. So it gets a bad rap, and it is often not good, but it's actually super powerful, designed by God to help us. So cortisol is also what's released when there's danger. It's a fight or flight chemical. So like if you think about the animal kingdom, right? So like there's a deer and the lion, they hear the lion rustling in the brush and they can become alert. Now they're paying attention to the lion. They see the lion.
They got the shot of cortisol.
They run and they live. And what's amazing is the other deer that didn't hear the lion recognize, sense, and or see the other deer like alert. They also get alert.
Well, you can watch this with birds too.
You can watch it with birds.
Out with the bird feeder, like one gets triggered and they're all, oh!
And then they all go taking off right before the cat pounces.
Yeah.
So this is true with people too. So, have you ever seen when someone comes in the room and they're stressed out and they're frustrated and suddenly you're stressed out and frustrated also, even if they weren't nasty to you, even if they just came in the room, you could just feel it. You could just feel it. I'm accused of bringing that into the room sometimes, that I'm, stressed out about something. They feel it. So it's actually good because it kind of...
I don't like you giving me massages when this is high either, because I can feel it through your massage.
Okay, but it's generally good, designed by God. But can you see how the enemy wants to put us in an environment where we're constantly having cortisol released? Because after all, his job is to kill, steal, and destroy. So he can actually lower our life expectancy by creating an environment where this cortisol is constantly being released. Okay? Mm-hmm. So anyways, I'll go back here. So basically, that's all the slides I've got. But I'm just going to play this on a loop here. Anyways, so why do we talk about these hormones and kind of go through all this stuff? Like, why do we do that? What's the point of all that? Well, really, like I said at the very beginning, we want to understand how God designed us so that we're better equipped to understand how might the enemy try to corrupt what we're doing or what our assignment is or what God's trying to do with us. So let's just, in the last 4 or 5 minutes that we have here, Prudence, thinking about how God made our brain work with dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, cortisol, of all of these things, the endorphins that we have, these various hormones, how does he use those against us?
Well, they all affect our brain somehow.
Yes, they all affect our brain.
When something is low,
yes,
we're easily triggered or more attacked.
Yep.
because we emotionally don't have the physical, natural ability to really fight it. It's kind of like immune system almost for our brains.
Yep. Absolutely. And think about it like this. This is the thing that is so key that I mentioned, but you have to get this. So the way our brain works is it takes all the information that it's receiving, and it makes a picture of what it believes the world to look like, the scenario to look like, the memory. Here's exactly what happened. Here's exactly what they said. Here's what they look like. Here's the look on their face. Here's their body posture. And from all of that, it makes a picture for you that you then believe is reality. But just so you understand, this isn't New Age, but what you think you saw as reality isn't actually reality. It is what your brain is telling you reality was. Almost always, it's exactly right. But sometimes, like when we're in the airplane, it's wrong. And that's why we train to trust the instruments. Because we are positive we heard this person say this. Mm-hmm. We're positive we watched them shrug their shoulders. We're positive we saw them roll their eyes. We're positive we heard them quote this thing. We're positive. We're not making it up. We're not exaggerating. We're 100% certain, except that isn't actually what happened. Because our brain is only giving us it's almost like a report. Here's reality. I know you can't actually see reality, but here's your picture of reality. And as long as this report, which almost always is exactly right, you have a good picture of reality. But sometimes if there's a line on there that's wrong, then it's off. That enter there is where the enemy leverages that to trick us. So he does this using, we call it the demon scrambler. Like I say something, and what she interprets my meaning based on all of this data, her brain interprets it as a different meaning. Mm-hmm.
But there's actually demonic interference that is twisting the communication between us.
Right, but here's the brain science part. The brain science part is your brain is positive what it heard. Mm-hmm. You're not making it up. Mm-hmm. You're 100% certain that I said something I didn't say.
Right.
Or I meant something I didn't mean.
Right.
It's using all these things against us. What we heard, what we saw, our brain's ability to fill in all of the missing details, but we see it as a fact, but it's really filling in a bunch of missing details, various chemicals, of which there are a lot more than the few that I just talked about. These are just the biggies that we're talking about right here. But imagine what happens is if every time, okay, think of it like this. Okay, real quick, we're almost out of time. Think of it like this. They did this experiment with monkeys, and they put a banana up a staircase, and they had 5 monkeys down at the bottom of the staircase. And as soon as the one monkey went up to get the banana, they actually sprayed the 5 that weren't going up on the stairs to get the banana, they sprayed them with water. And then the next time a monkey tried, they sprayed the 5 down here, or the 4 remaining ones, they sprayed them with water. So they didn't spray the one that went up the stairs. They sprayed these ones down here. They sprayed them. When those happened, they were releasing cortisol into their bloodstream. And they were getting stressed, and they were fight or flight, and they don't know why they're getting sprayed with water, but they don't like it. They hate it. And so they figure out, as soon as a monkey gets on that staircase, we're all going to get sprayed. So we're going to stop them. So pretty soon, after 2 or 3 times, that doesn't take very long, they figure out, don't let the monkey go on stairs. Do not let him, because we're going to get sprayed. Makes sense, right? Then what happens is they put a new monkey in that never got sprayed with water. That new monkey starts to go up on the stairs. As soon as he starts to go up on the stairs, all the other monkeys grab him, hold him down to the ground, and don't let him go up there. Now, they don't spray any water anymore. They're not spraying water. But those monkeys know. Don't let that sucker go up there because we're all going to get hosed, okay? So they don't, okay? So then what happens? What happens next? They put another new monkey in. So now the next new monkey tries to go up on the stairs. But as soon as he does, the 3 that are left over, plus the new one, who doesn't know anything about the water, all stop him. He doesn't know why he's stopping this monkey. But the others taught him, don't let anybody go on the stairs. It's bad news, it's bad news, it's bad news. Again, no water being sprayed. But the monkeys have learned, don't do it. Don't go up there. Then they take another monkey out. They put another new monkey in. So now we got 3 new monkeys that have never been sprayed with water. One of those guys goes up onto the stairs to get the banana. All of them jump in. The 2 that were never sprayed with water now jump in with the same veracity as the others because they don't know why, but it's always been this way. We've always done it this way. Their brains have been reprogrammed to have a cortisol hit. A cortisol hit. So you keep doing this, you keep doing this until you have all new monkeys. Now, this could go a year later, and they do this experiment for a long time.
Generational training.
Generational training. This is super important, super important, super important. So we now have all new monkeys that have never been sprayed with water. And they're all absolutely violently opposed to letting one of them go on the stairs. Why? It's always been done. It's always been this way. Like ever since the second I got into this basement, I learned don't let any monkeys go on the thing. So this is a perfect example of how the enemy uses generational curses, uses lies to trick your brain into releasing cortisol, and you are fighting with all your might to keep that stinking monkey from going on the steps. Why?
You don't know.
You don't know why.
You don't know why.
You don't know why, but with all of
your
being, you are convinced it is not okay to let that monkey go on the stairs. This is why it's so important to understand the brain science behind how the enemy tricks us. Why? It's about trusting your instruments. It's like that flight training. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, cool. I understand in an airplane, trust your instruments. What are you talking about here? This is about having a relationship with the Lord that is so grounded in Scripture and time with the Holy Spirit that when you are certain you're turning upside down, you can look at your instruments, which is the Lord, and say, actually, I'm straight and level. I'm actually straight and level right now. How we tie this into deliverance, and we're going to dig into this in the next part 2 of this is a realignment of our instruments. So deliverance is how we get our instruments tuned back to the Lord so that when the horizon on my instrument says it's level, it actually is level. Without that, I already know I can't fully trust my emotions and my brain. Like I'd like to be able to, but I can't because my brain says we're turning, but we're actually straight and level. My brain says, don't let that monkey go up there because something bad's going to happen. What? I don't know. But it's just every fiber of my being says, don't let that monkey go on the stairs. Look, it was 3 generations ago that you were getting sprayed by water. Mm-hmm. You didn't even know about it. You didn't know that 3 generations ago somebody was a Mason and they injected curses into your family. But the enemy's using our physiological, mechanical way God designed us against us. So we need to fight back with that by plugging into the instruments, which is the Lord and Scripture, and keeping ourselves right side up with truth, even when it feels like we're turning, as it were, or we're getting a cortisol hit that doesn't make sense, or we're getting a dopamine hit that's a lie. Man, it feels so good when I, yell at that person because it makes me feel better about myself. Actually getting a dopamine hit. It's actually the enemy leveraging your hormone system to release chemicals into your brain to cause a behavior. Remember, your brain thinks with 100% certainty that this is how it is. I said this, I meant this. She believes with 100% certainty of my motives and what I said. But actually, the enemy, through all of the stuff we've just been talking about, has twisted that around. So anyways, this is just tapping into the surface of brain science tied into deliverance. In the next episode, we're going to get into this more, and we're going to dig into some of these clips from Bobby Hobby's message that was really fantastic, talking about the deliverance that we're going through. So I guess we'll see you guys on that one.
Tight, and we'll see you shortly.
Yeah, so real quick as we're wrapping this up in the last 30 seconds here, this show, Together We Build, is put on by Prudence and I. It is part of Eagle Mountain TV. We would love your support. This is a nonprofit 24/7 TV network, part of Eagle Mountain Apostolic Resource Center in Bend, Oregon. If you've been blessed by any of these shows we do, first of all, go check out eaglemountain.global and click on the TV button. There's tons of amazing program from Don Potter and Bobby. It's fantastic. There's really great content there. But in addition to that, if you want to support what we're doing here, help us to get this out there, we would love that. We would very much appreciate it. You can click on that give button and you can go down there and you can select Egomont TV or something like that, and you can just donate either weekly or whatever. It would make a big difference. It's a lot of work and a lot of cost to run a show like this, and we would love your support, wouldn't we?
Yep.
That is absolutely correct.
All right, we will see you guys on the next episode. Don't miss it. Next week, the next episode, we're going to finish this. We're going to dig into it. It's going to be amazing. We'll see you
All
then.
right. See you then.